Here are a couple of quick objections to Kant's ethics based on sort of our own intuitive ideas, or at least what are some common intuitive ideas. We know Kant says we can never tell a lie, and he says that regardless of the consequences, we always need to do our duty. Well, we might wonder, what if the consequences are really, really, really bad? What if doing your duty would have this terrible effect? Do I still have to do it? Am I still required to do it even though this turns out terribly and I know it will? Well, Kant brings up a case of his very own called the murderer at the door. So say a friend of yours comes to your home and asks to hide inside from a murderer. Someone is sort of, chasing him with an axe and wants to kill him, and he wants to hide in your house or your room or wherever. You agree. You say, okay, come on in and hide. A few minutes later, the murderer comes to the door, and he knocks on the door, you answer the door, and the murderer says, hey, where's your friend? Is your friend inside? Now, remember, Kant says we can never tell a lie, because if we told lies, then truth-telling would sort of stop having any meaning. Well, so do we have to tell the murderer where your friend is so he can go inside and kill him? Kant's actually going to say yes. Can this really be right? Well, that's something worth thinking about. There's a lot of reason to think no, right? There's a lot of reason to think I've got perfectly good justification for either refusing to talk to the murderer. Kant might say we could refuse to talk to the murderer. He might say that. But you might think that even better than refusing to talk would be to say, he went that way. He went somewhere else, and sort of, send this guy on a wild goose chase until you can call the police or something like that. This is based on reasoning about consequences, not about motives. And we're actually going to read a theory next week called utilitarianism that reasons entirely based on consequences rather than motives. So if this is the way you're thinking, maybe you're more of a utilitarian than a Kantian. If you think that Kant has a way to save this, then maybe you're more of a Kantian. Definitely something that you ought to talk about on the forums this week. Here are a few other questions, not so much objections, but at least things you might wonder and things that would also make great forum posts. How do I know what to do if I don't have a duty either way? Right? So if it's not morally required that I do something, and it's not morally bad that I do something, how do I know what to do? Can I just pick whatever? Is it just neutral? Maybe. Here's a more important one. What do I do if I have two different duties and they conflict? So what if one duty says I need to do X, and the other one says absolutely do not do X, do Y instead? What do I do in this case? I've got a duty to do two different things and I can't do them both at the same time. Are some duties stronger? Are some more important? And if so, why? Right? It can't be based on the consequences, because we know Kant thinks consequences don't matter. So are some duties more rational? What would that mean? Again, something we might think about, because it's plausible to think that there might be a lot of cases where we have a whole bunch of intersecting duties. Again, this might be a problem for Kant. And finally, as we saw both in the murderer example, and you might have been just thinking this throughout, don't consequences matter at least sometimes? Wouldn't it at least be better if I acted from duty and got the good result than just acting from duty? Can't I at least say that, if nothing else? Kant's really going to say no, and we might think that that's wrong. Again, these are all great things you might think about on the forum posts this week. I look forward to hearing what you have to say, and also to doing some more ethics. Next week we'll see a really strong alternative to Kant. So have a fantastic week.